Hey, screeners, how you doing? It's me, the one AJ, Anthony Jordan.
Been a moment, hasn't it? It's me too, Nico Lero.
This obviously for the benefit of those on YouTube, not those listening on the various podcast platforms. But surprised this T-shirt still fits. It feels new. It feels brand new. It feels fresh.
It's been half a year, AJ, not a decade. You shouldn't have gained that much weight in 5 months.
But listen, it's look. If you followed the AJ, look, 2024 has been a mad year for the dudes. So if you followed the AJ journey, there's one T-shirt that is pretty much like skin to me. This one, and because it's got the silver lining, I'm very, very cautious of when I wear it. Very cautious of wearing it. It's not one to be stained. We avoid the washing machine at all times. The minute this show's over, off, because
Literally,
sweat is not allowed to build on this.
Febreze, no sweat.
Exactly. Yeah. The driest of dry cleans to take place. So yeah.
Oh, yeah, welcome me, back. What a year it's been. Yeah, well, thank you. I decided to, get my wife knocked up and have a son, a second child in the process. So
congratulations to you, officially on camera. Not that that's the first time I've told him congratulations. What kind of friend would I be? Let's just get that out in the air. But yeah.
No, thank you. It was my pleasure.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah, man. Look, little Cosmo has joined us in the world, and I'm not allowed to show him any screens or anything yet, but silver screen dude in the making. And yeah, he's kept me busy for the last 5 months, to the degree that if you've been following the channel, I've managed to semi-regularly get content out. Did the film festival this year. That was cool. Other than that, the Rushmore has taken a back seat, but it is back. Oh, I have to say it again, don't I? Back once again, like a renegade master. Yeah!
And it's back to say goodbye to 2024. That's why we're here, guys.
Literally. And we'll continue in 2025. There's a message that's out on the channel, I think now, letting you guys know what to expect in 2025. So, yeah, keep a lookout for that. That'll tell you everything you need to know, what to expect from us both in audio and video formats moving forward. But yes, 2024 has been a fantastic year for film. I would say not as good as 2023. Far bigger disappointments than 2023. Jesus. The year where sequels officially died at the box office, minus one or two exceptions. Yeah, for most part, sequels did not come to play this year, and the big IPs did not come to play this year. People are finally listening to what I've been preaching. Support original content. And that's what people are after right now. The box office results say that. It's great. It's a happy, happy world to be in. And it's been a phenomenal year for independent cinema and for new IP, not even IPs, but new stories, unique stories, things that aren't associated with big IPs. There's so much good stuff out there. Also, the big IPs have delivered in some parts, don't get me wrong. It's not been a complete train wreck.
It's a funny year. You'd believe I was the one who became the parent, because the film side of things took a bit of a weird turn. When we were going to do the top 10, I was like, crap, I've got some catching up to do. Funny enough, I have actually been to the cinema near enough 10 times, which was actually beyond 10 times. So that was quite impressive for me. But I am bigger on the big names this year. I think last year has to be my proudest moment as a silver screen dude, where it was just like, I know all of this was there, but this is my top 10. It was like the alternative top 10. Not
he
so much.
He became a cinephile.
Careful with anything ending in file in this 2024 era, I tell you, because I don't want to be itchy. But anyway, but like on a real, taking it to that level, it was a year of going to the cinema. I wish I'd seen a lot of the smaller. When I say smaller, the air quotes are up on that. The lesser known, the lesser publicized films and stuff like that.
Yeah.
A few films that have come out that I would like to see. So, like, for everyone who knows AJ and his love of Moana, no, part 2 has not been seen by me just yet. I happen to have been in Leicester Square when Gladiator 2 was released, and I believe me and my boss had this moment where we looked at each other and we're like, I think we've just heard Denzel Washington in person. That will do. that was our moment, but I've not seen that. So that's the way of a journey it's going to be. So don't expect like a huge, amazing one. It's been an interesting journey this year. But yes, the top 10 will be done comfortably, I will say.
Good. My ranking will also be out later this month, so keep a lookout for ranking every movie I saw in 2024. It's not as extensive as 2023, but there's still 56 movies in there. And I definitely saw enough that I can also do a top 10 worst of 2024, because god damn, there was some crap. Yeah, but we're here to talk the best, the highlights,
Cool.
our
Out
personal
of
highlights.
interest, is there a spoiler to your top 10 worst? Do you have your worst on this list?
Oh, yes.
Okay, cool. I wonder if we have the same, because my one was... Anyway.
No, because you haven't seen my worst.
Oh God. Is that the one you told me not to watch?
Oh, yes.
IPs. Anyway, we digress. So let's kick this thing off. Do we remind or introduce people to what they could be in for if they've never seen this for the first time? Do you still remember your lines? I've only got one word to say.
Do I still remember my lines? Actually, I forgot. That's just me that has to do this, isn't it? Oh, yes. Jeez, it's been a moment, actually. I have to compose myself. No poll, by the way, because I haven't spoken to JT in months and I don't want to just come out of nowhere.
Honestly, I wouldn't even dare to dream of what our last film was. I wouldn't even... We done the top 10, huh? And our contenders... No.
I think our last official top 10 was the buddy cop movies with Den and Big Tone.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. Good call.
So, happy 2024 and end of 2024. For those of you tuning in for the first time, thank you for joining us. Be sure to subscribe to the channel. Follow us on podcast, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts. We're everywhere. But how does the show actually work? It's basically a top 10 show between two best friends from school. Here's the crux of it. AJ and I get assigned the monthly topic. We go our separate ways. We compile our individual top 10 list, and we come right back here into our recording and deliver to you, our film familia, the Silver Screen Dudes, our individual top 10s. As it's been a moment, this week, AJ will go first, delivering his bottom three. I will then deliver my bottom three. AJ will deliver his next two. I will deliver my next two. And then when we get to our respective top fives, we will trade one apiece. If at any time while we are rounding off our individual top 10 lists, one person has a movie in a higher position, that person will say...
Hunt. The image is still there banging.
And we will punt and talk about that movie when we get to the highest position. Once we have both rounded off our individual top 10 lists, we will create, in the voice of Chandler Bing, the movie Mount Rushmore. These are the 4 quintessential diverse must-see movies of the genre, which this week is...
Top 10 movies of 2024. Right. Okay, guys. You might see this and be like, how did that make your top 10? Because I saw about 11 films. Honestly, I think I saw 12 films because there's one film that didn't make the list. I got kind of torn on it, to be honest. I'm going to say it because I don't think I know it's not on your list. I guarantee it's not on your list. Imaginary Friends just didn't make the list. It was very there for me.
Okay.
Have you seen it?
Imaginary Friends, no.
John Krasinski's film with a kid. Yeah,
oh, just Imaginary.
Was it Imaginary Friends?
It's called If.
If Imaginary Friends. That's what it stood for.
Oh, is that what it stood for? No. No, I didn't see it, although I heard it was quite sweet.
It was very flat. So that's like
of course it was. It was written by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Why are we surprised by this?
Oh dear. Okay, so in at number 10 for me is Priscilla.
Is this a remake of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert?
No.
What is this film? I do not know this.
This is weird because if anyone remembers my film of last year, that was Elvis. That was my number one. And obviously it can't be a sequel. It can't be a sequel. It doesn't even have the same characters. It's got your boy, actually.
Barry.
Oh, no.
Barry.
No. He was in the film with Barry, actually. That you... Saltburn. Is it Jacob?
Oh, Jacob Elordi.
Elordi. He plays Elvis in this one. He plays Elvis, but we're seeing the world from Elvis's world from Priscilla's perspective in this film. I feel ever so stupid because her name has escaped me right now. But yes, this young actress, we're seeing her meeting Elvis for the first time, following her journey as she's been an Elvis fan, becomes part of Elvis's life, and lives quite a lonely life outside of it while he's out doing everything and him just visiting. So, her parents, because she was a young lady, there was an age gap between Elvis and Priscilla, if you're not familiar with this. So, the disapproval and going off with this young rock star who had just left the army and has got the world to itself, and just seeing the world from her lens of seeing her partner on TV, seeing the relationships, Monroe and all these other people, while she's just at home and he's just flying in and flying out. It's directed by Sofia Coppola. This came
I
out
like her.
very early, very early. This was a January film. I think it was actually the first film I saw of 2024. And, I still had my Elvis lenses on and the buzz. It was a different take. It's one of those, it's going to be weird to say this. I don't think it, as much as it has Elvis performances to a degree, it's a very quiet film. I don't remember much background music in it. And that actually helps to accentuate the loneliness that she has throughout. So
I
it's
like
one of
that.
those that it's not, I don't think it's going to, especially if you're like, for me, like rocked by the Elvis movie, you're going to be, it's not the same, but it's an interesting view. A very interesting view, and I'd say it's worth a watch if you have a moment. But it's not must see, but worth a watch.
How does Jacob Elordi compare to Austin Butler?
I was blown away by Butler, and okay, it's weird to say he's not there, but he does good. But do you know when you're back to back, you can't help but play the comparison game, and you're like, well, it's not the guy that I was in Elvis, and you got to take yourself, you got to really remove. It's weird to have to completely remove Elvis to see Elvis. It's kind of like watching Jobs and Steve Jobs back to back. And you're like, this is a different story and it's a different time. And you're going to find a preference. I do prefer Butler, but then obviously Butler had a lot more to play with. You've got time to build with
Yeah.
where, it's one is Elvis's story, this is Priscilla's story. But Lord, he does good. He does do good.
He's grown on me, Austin Butler, I have to say. There's a few things I've seen him in this year where I was like, okay, you can play. You
He's
can
done the
play.
other film. I'm not going to mention it in case it's on your list, but I wouldn't have minded seeing that film.
The one with Tom Hardy?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not on my list. The Bike Riders.
The Bike Riders, yeah. It did
Well,
look
he
good.
did another film this year as well, which is on my list, which we'll get to. But
Oh.
no, Bike Riders was good. It's strange to say that neither him nor Tom Hardy, I thought, were the stars of that movie. Jodie Comer stole the show, man. She was brilliant. I mean, don't get me wrong, the three of them were freaking class.
No, I get you, but there's always going to be a standout. It doesn't matter who, how. It doesn't matter who's in it. There's always going to be one that's there. We talk about Heat, and we're like, well, one guy outdone the other. It's not to say one's a crap actor, but there was a winner, De Niro. But it is what it is. Kaylee Spenny or Spanny is the long lady who played Priscilla Presley, and yes,
Okay.
Here we are. Okay, right, we move on. I think this is gonna hurt a few people. It wasn't worst territory, and it had a bit more to it, but I was a bit let down by this film. Many years in the making. In at number 9, Beetlejuice.
So this is one of those ones I didn't get a chance to see because baby. It came out around that sort of time where I was very, very limited on how I could get to the cinema. I'm kind of devastated I didn't see it. Should I or should I not? Is it worth the time?
Okay, so here's the fairness of AJ, as fair and real as can be. This year has also been the worst year for my condition. Going into the cinema, there are times I think Despicable. I saw Despicable Me 4. Can't remember it. The film Watch Me, and I hated it. I actually pulled away from cinema at one point because I was like, I can't do this. It's so bad. This film, I remember being in and out, and you had the buzz and the feels, but it wasn't the buzz and the feels that you have it, and it gives you the moment, but it wasn't enough. It feels like you've got Beetlejuice. Was it way too long in the making? To a degree, it works because we've got a chance to have Winona Ryder grown up, and she's got a teenage daughter, and it allows for the story to kind of spin and have this part to it. But then you've got this where there was a certain magic. I feel they've taken it away. We've got her character, Winona's character, now in a position where she can communicate with the dead, but Beetlejuice coming back now has her like a kook, so we don't know how to take her on. There's another hidden story, and I wasn't as impressed as you come in skeptical, but you want your nostalgia boots to really feel like, oh, this is a good one. I didn't get that. I just felt like, is this the best you could have done after so long? Because I feel like sometimes if you leave a film long enough, it has to be amazing, or just don't bring it back. You know. The lady of the house who I went with is a huge Beetlejuice fan. Huge Beetlejuice fan.
Yeah, it's
And
great.
her thoughts were, I've waited this long for that. And that kind of reaffirmed that even though I was in and out of consciousness, I know it sounds extreme to say consciousness, but in and out of sleep while watching this film, I didn't feel like I had missed much when I was watching, you know? And that's what it's a bit disappointing, but I do feel it was something I'm like, I will give it a second shot. But I was like, is that it? It was a bit of a letdown after such a long gap.
Well, you and Campier seem to agree on things then, because he does not like Beetlejuice either.
Maybe it's redemption from a few years ago. But we weren't gonna...
You're wrong. It's fine.
Well, maybe I'm right now. You know, maybe I've grown, maybe he's grown. We'll see. But yeah, yeah, we'll see. I want to know what I am interested though, and I am very interested to see what the public perception on Beetlejuice is, because
It's a very easy way of finding out. It's called Rotten Tomatoes. Let's find
I
out.
mean, we
Right
could
now.
play that game. I
mean, that's literally, and then I know people are going to be like, nah, critics' voices don't count. I mean, they do, but let's not get into that.
Beetlejuice, 76%.
76%.
4.2 out of 5 on Amazon and 6.8 out of 10 on IMDb. So I think we could, apart from Amazon,
just over
yeah,
half like it.
We're at the average point, which I'm not saying Beetlejuice was 100% movie. Let's not play the game, and I'm not going to research.
79% on Rotten Tomatoes from 10,000 verified ratings. God damn.
That's interesting.
76% critic rating.
Yeah, sorry, that's I just gave them the
see,
bit.
it's when I see ratings like this, when people prematurely, if they say critics' voices don't count, and the critics and audience scores are literally identical, then
3%.
I'm like, well, what are you saying?
I mean, 79 is not bad.
79 is a very good score on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to see, but here we go. Beetlejuice itself is at 83%, so it is a drop. And I mean, don't get me wrong, that is expected, but yeah, bit of a weird one. Bit of a weird one.
Yeah. What is your number 8? You haven't sold me on Beetlejuice, I have to say.
It's hard to, but I'm sure there are some people out there who'll be like, bro, what did you miss? And I'll be like, well, I did admit I slept. This one was a bit of a weird one, and I don't know. Like, I was torn between which should be 8 and which should be 9. But you know, AJ and his biopic, so this had to be in the conversation anyway. And I wasn't overly hating of it. Back to Black.
Really?
Now I know you didn't enjoy this film. I know you didn't.
Snooze fest.
I didn't mind it. I remember seeing your review where you were like, "Yeah." I thought it had more life than and don't get me wrong, I know enough about Amy that it didn't blow my mind away, you know, kind of thing. But in the same breath, I was like, you've uncovered a few things to me. Didn't mention she was a wrestling fan, but I'll allow you guys. But joking aside, I was like, it wasn't bad. And I feel, and it's not that I'm doing a sympathy vote on this, I feel the young lady got more of an attack than was due. The lady who
I agree with 100%.
Everyone was like, she's terrible. I don't think she was.
She wasn't terrible.
She wasn't. You know, she handled the character. What bugs me with films like this is that people are going to be like, oh, but she didn't sound like. There are certain, even when I watch X,
no one's going to sound like Amy Winehouse.
When people are trying to be like, do a Mariah or a Whitney, I'm like, sit down, behave. You know, you could add Adele to the mix, Amy Winehouse to the mix, Beyonce to the mix. She's not going to be Amy Winehouse. That's what makes her so unique. But she handled her character well. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the film. It was an easy watch. It wasn't mind-blowing. It wasn't I need to see it. Look, it's on Netflix. And I kind of feel like, do I want to watch it again? I've been tempted to, but it's not captivating enough to say I will do. But I didn't hate it. That's why it's in this bottom 3.
Marissa Abela was not the problem with Back to Black. She's not a Meryl Streep. Let's not get it twisted. But
no,
she's a perfectly serviceable actor who was in what I believe very dull movie. Amy Winehouse was a big freaking deal. And that's coming from a guy who's not even the biggest Amy Winehouse fan. I know that she was a big deal, right? Like, hell, I'm not a Taylor Swift fan. I know Taylor Swift is a big freaking deal. You know what I mean? Like, big deal. Doesn't matter whether I listen to her music or not. She's a big deal. Amy Winehouse was a big freaking deal. Huge. I didn't get that from this movie. You know, when you watch Bohemian Rhapsody, it makes it very clear that this band
Queen
is
took over the world. Yeah.
this is goated. This band is goated. Even Rocket Man, which you and me don't like, you still are made very clear that, yeah, Elton, big deal. This didn't make Amy feel like a big deal. That was what I hated it for. I'm like, irrespective of whether I know the intricacies of her personal story or not, that's what I'm in the biopic for, to get the details that I may not be aware of. But with telling me what goes on behind the curtain, I need to get the feeling that this movie is portraying her as what she was, which again was a big deal. And I love that people always come at me when I say this. It made her seem like a bar singer, like one of those people who just was stuck in singing in a bar in Camden. And then
Well,
people are
you're
like,
not wrong. Even when they get her going back to like Ronnie's,
that's how she started. That she was, you know, she was a North London girl. That's kind of what she was all about. I'm like, yes, sure, Jenny from the block and all that. Don't be fooled by the rocks that I got. I get it, but like, she kind of grew above the singing in the bar in Camden thing. I'm not saying that she was above literally doing that and she had some ego on her. I'm saying the essence, the aura of Amy Winehouse was a big deal. And this
Valerie
movie
is one of the.
well, she appeared at Glastonbury once, but then kind of just a bar singer. I'm like, make her seem like a big deal, man.
Yeah, Valerie was possibly the biggest song around the world at its release, and we should be able to acknowledge that. Yes, it's nice showing paparazzi outside her door. That part I would agree with, but I think they wanted to show. I don't know, it's going to sound stupid. You should be able to show Amy behind the spotlight while still showing the spotlight, and that part I will agree was something that was kind of missing. It's not where you can see the life of Freddie Mercury behind the lens, and yes, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, terribly edited film. That's not how history went." I get it, but guess what? I'm sure you still discovered a few parts. And to me, still the second best musical biography biopic that's out there.
Yeah, Straight Outta Compton's better. Straight Outta Compton.
It's Elvis for me, man. Elvis done some bits to me.
Stop it! You prefer Elvis to Bohemian Rhapsody?
Straight Outta Compton is probably my third. I think it's Straight Outta Compton, Elvis. Straight Outta Compton, Bohemian Rhapsody, Elvis. That would be the order.
Stop it. Damn, AJ. I mean, respect, but also no. That's no.
At this point, Den the Tech has logged off. I do apologize there. I can feel it already.
Damn, see, I'd put Walk the Line above Elvis.
Oh, God, no. Walk the Line. I had fun with Walk the Line, but I remember when I brought it up and you did say something about the film being kind of flat. That was another film that was kind of flat. Good songs, good performances. Needed more body.
I just couldn't buy Tom Hanks as a villain. I can't do it. I can't do it. It was literally asking me to swallow a pill. Tom Hanks is the Rey Mysterio of the movie world. He cannot be a villain. I'm sorry.
There's a reason why he's Mr. Rogers.
You get me? Tom Hanks is Mr. Rogers. He can't be a sleazy record label man. Just no. So that was your bottom three, yeah?
Indeed. Over to you, sir.
I have a feeling if you've seen this, we're about to see our first punt. My number 10, Pixar's Inside Out 2.
Yeah, that is a punt. That is a punt. Wow.
Right. My number 9, a movie that had no business being this good. I don't believe you've seen it. Cyborg, a documentary.
No.
Now, there's a review for this out on the channel now. Actually, the review did pretty well, I'm happy to say. I've never seen a movie that has messed with me like this one has. Because the crux of the movie is this. You've got this kind of, if you were to stereotype him, he'd be one of those tofu-eating art-type vegans, right? That's kind of the stereotype. His thing, right, is he was born amonochromatic. So you know how some people, when you say they're colorblind, is they can't detect certain colors. This guy sees the world like a Kurosawa movie. He is black and white. He cannot see color. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because most
Black and
people,
white.
everything's different shades of green. So that
Yeah.
is interesting.
These different shades of green. Some people see an infrared. Some people can't detect purples. Like they explain it in the movie. There's all various. There's some are more common than others, but there's a whole variety of color blindness. This guy is amonochromatic, like black and white. The world is chrome to him. God forbid, put a spinning rim in front of him. That type, right? They'll have my eyes. So he's done this thing, right, where he's implanted actual machinery into his skull, not removable. Like this is now part of his body, and there's a little antenna that goes over his head,
Which I saw in the picture.
which you just saw in the image. This antenna transmits wavelengths based on what color it picks up. So it's a whole new way, because normally we see color, we know what red is, right? We know what purple is. We know what these colors are. He doesn't. But thanks to this antenna, though he obviously doesn't see red or purple or yellow, etc., the way you and me do, it has for the first time allowed him to start detecting color. And so the first half of this movie, you're like, this is amazing. This guy has overcome what is basically a visual disability. And he is literally a cyborg. You know, if they take this machine out of his head, he dies. He can't be done. Like, he is an actual cyborg, the world's first cyborg. It's a documentary, by the way. It's not a movie. This stuff's real. This is why it's scary. And then halfway through the movie, very underplayed, it starts to get oh so sinister. Because you start to realize that him and his girlfriend are setting up this institution of how they can use technology in other ways to enhance people. And he starts trying to figure out pieces of technology to solve problems that have already been solved that don't need fixing. For instance, there was one guy who wanted to have a bandana implanted around his whole head, which would detect where the position of the sun was. Now, with respect, we've already solved that problem. It's called a watch. And there was all these other things like implants in the chest, implants in the arm. Like, and I can't remember what they all were, but they were all just like, this feels like playing God for the sake of playing God. And I'm not, and I'm an atheist, but you get where I'm coming from. And it became really sinister to the end where I'm like, this is Skynet. This guy's building Skynet.
Not even Skynet. It's oh, there's another film out there where they fuse a boy with a dog. I want to say Fullmetal Alchemist, but I could be wrong. But we're going into territories I'm not comfortable with.
Majorly uncomfortable, and that's the point of the movie. It does a flippity flip on you, whereas the first half, your heart is soaring for this guy. You're pumping the air like freaking Bender in The Breakfast Club for him, thinking, go on, son, you get your color. And then it gets really sinister. But it's not sinister in a Hollywoodized way where it's bomb, 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 bomb.
But
It's
no, because
not
it's real.
It's real, and they don't need to dramatize it. Like, the drama's there. It's terrifying.
Can I be real? From the minute you talked about how this thing is implanted into his skull and it removes it, he dies, there was this awkward chill. Like, there's a level of cool, but there's awkward chill. It's not, you know, you get goosebumps and you get chills. This is a chill in the spine. Like, ooh.
Terrifying. I want to shout out Strike Media, who were kind enough to send me the screener for review for this. Yeah, man. I think, don't quote me on this, I'm pretty sure I gave this a 10 out of 10, AJ. Yeah.
For the benefit, I keep forgetting we're doing Spotify as well, and other podcast platforms. Yeah, my eyes just opened like hell there, because those are rare. Those are rare.
Yeah, your boy doesn't give out 10s. And here's a spoiler. I gave out 2 this year.
Oh, nice.
One of them coming up later. But yeah, this got a 10 for me. Flawless bit of filmmaking and such a cautionary tale. And it really scared the living bejesus out of me, because this guy is creating technology and tapping into people unchecked. And it's like, how long until the machines take us over, literally?
Well, It's been the conversation that I've said many a times, many a times. If you're new to it, I always said it starts off as iRobot, it transcends into into Terminator, then the Matrix, and now I'd even go as far as to say ends in Wall-E. I used to say ends in the Matrix, I'd go with it ends in Wall-E. So you got to be careful.
This was proper Matrix stuff. It was really like, back of the head and everything. I was like, I've seen this in Hollywood. Now it's real.
It's not good. It's not good. And that was your
Yeah.
number 9.
9. My number 8, again, one I saw at the, I say again, the first of the movies I'm bringing in that I saw at the London Film Festival. My favorite actor in the world at the moment, Mr. Barry Keoghan, and he wasn't even the lead in this. He was a supporting character, but my God, it was good. Bird.
Okay.
Incredible Irish film. So Barry Keoghan and his daughter play. Are you allowed to say gypsies still? I don't know.
Traveller will be
Traveller.
I mean, look,
Cool.
here's the thing. Anyone who catches offence, we've got a man out there walking the streets calling himself the Gypsy King. So I don't think it's offensive. But
You've
Traveller is...
also got to see you next Tuesday sitting in the White House transatlantic, and he's, like you can't be offended in the year 2024. That election showed that freaking gender and identity politics that's dead. Like voting that guy in, that was a statement. These ain't jokes.
no.
You're telling me you had a black woman running against him and black people voted to bring the racist white guy in? I'm like, if there was ever a sign that identity, race, and gender politics was dead, 2024, eat your heart out.
You've got me on this thing again. Every now and again, I feel like as much as you have silver screen dudes, as much as you have Ministry, there's a political show that can be cancelled as hell. But it's some of the debates that we have outside of this show that I would love for people to just join in and see how we go. Because, yeah. But anyway, let's go with...
Barry Keoghan and his daughter play travelers. They are living in an abandoned house with a load of other travelers. Barry Keoghan has found this lovely new young lady who he's going to marry her. He's going to marry her. And as you can imagine, the daughter's none too happy about this. Now, she's trying to find her she's the center character for this. She's trying to find her place in the world. Okay? Where does she fit in? Because obviously she's not educated. She doesn't go to school. They don't have any income. How does she survive in a big, cruel world, right? And she sort of travels literally back and forth between trying to come to terms with what her dad, Barry Keoghan, is putting her through emotionally by having this new girlfriend who he's marrying, and going and seeing her mum. Mum, by the way, played by Jackie from Top Boy.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Going back to see the mum, who is in a abusive relationship where the partner beats the living hell out of her. So all this girl knows in her life is conflict on both sides, emotional conflict and physical conflict from both parents. That's the life essence. And while traveling, she meets this odd extra fellow who's just called Bird. And he becomes her friend, and you can't quite figure out what Bird is. First vibes, you get a pedo alert. Because, this young girl's 14, 15. He older than us. Well, he about our age, a little bit older than us, maybe. Shit, maybe he's younger than us. I don't know.
Life is dodgy when we start to realize that we're the old guys now. We're not old, just too old to be in the club.
Oh, that's a fact. I was at a Christmas party this last Friday, and it was at Maddox. Bro.
Done.
That was no. It is a no. If you know, AJ knows. Yeah, we ain't part of that world anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she encounters this guy called Bird, and Bird is essentially looking for his family. He's in a way just as lost as she is, because she has a family, but she doesn't feel an ability to connect with them, whereas Bird doesn't have a family and is out looking for them. So they're kind of on they're two sides of the same coin, and they find solace in each other's company, even though they're worlds apart in terms of who they are. And it's her trying to navigate this perilous journey between her two parents with the help of this new friend of hers called Bird. And the movie asks all sorts of interesting questions. Is Bird even real? Is he a figment of her imagination? What the hell is the meaning behind him? It's brilliant.
I'm intrigued. Can't wait for the release.
It's Barry Keoghan. Of course it's good.
Cool.
Your number 7.
My number 7, the one and only comic book entry for this year. I don't even think if there was more than one comic book. There was, but
was there?
Well,
yes, there was.
Yeah, and there's one coming in a few weeks. No, a few days. Craven will be out. Craven will not make our list. But from the initial reviews, I don't think it will, unless it takes place and removes your.
I'm hopeful. I really want it to be good.
Yeah, I'm seeing ATJ on the post. I'm like, come on, son, make it work.
Yeah, 100%. I love ATJ.
God, hold on, I take it back. Was this not the year of Madam Web?
This was the year of Madam Web. There was a few comic book movies this year.
The film that nobody saw, and I was positive. I was like, I'll give it a shot, and then everyone around me just kind of scared me. But anyway, yes, it's the obvious choice in the world of comic book. Deadpool and Wolverine. Now here's the thing. This film got a second watch from me because the first watch was in and out. So bad that I didn't realize how bad I fell asleep. And you're going to laugh at this. When my brother was like, Henry Cavill's in it, I was like, is he? And then when I watched the film, I was like, damn, he was in early. How the hell did I miss that? Like, I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed with what happened.
The Cavalry.
Yeah. So here's the thing. There's two sides to it. There's you who will call it visual noise, and then the other side of it is Den, who will be like, the more I watch it, the more I appreciate it. As it currently stands...
No. This movie's going to age horribly. But
he's watched it 3 times, I believe. So this is what...
Good for him. All in 1 year. Come back in 5 years once the nostalgia's worn off.
Here's the thing. I'm partially leaning more to you.
Well, thank you, sir.
It's not weird to say that, but we can oppose. But when I say that... when I say that is we currently stand opposed where I can be like, I don't mind Civil War. I don't mind Homecoming or Far From Home.
Oh, be fair. You're coming around to seeing my point of view on Civil War.
I remember being there watching it the last time when I was educating someone and doing the entire MCU during lockdown. I'll bring back those days. But, you know, that was something. Not lockdown and people lost lives, RIP. I'm talking about just being able to chill and... No, do you know what I mean? Before people think I'm praising COVID. But hey, I can say it without being demonetized. But what I'm getting at is those are where we can oppose. This one, I was like, I saw it and I came back and it was like, here's the problem. I understand and I'm aware that Ryan is aware that there is a thing where multiverses aren't working and they play on that. But still give me a reason. Because it was all about how, like, here's the thing. I've watched the CW multiverse. I've watched more multiverse, and I actually enjoy multiverse and trying to wrap my head around it. Have I done Loki season 2? No. So when I see the Time Authority or whatever they're called, and it's like, I was a bit lost, and I was like, I can live with that. It was like, I need to find a Wolverine. I found a Wolverine. Done. Because here's the thing. If we're going to do this as the entry for the X-Men, why am I seeing 12,000 Deadpools, but nothing to give me any hope of... The excitement of Wolverine also should have given me hope of other X-Men. Yes, it was nice to finally see.
But it wasn't the entry for the X-Men. I'll break the fourth wall here. Kevin Feige said himself, you're not going to see the X-Men for years still. X-Men are coming after the next... not the next Avengers movie, the one after that. I can guarantee you the next saga will be called the Mutant Saga.
Cool, whatever. And I'm not saying that I needed it, but if we're bringing in Wolverine and he's by definition an X-Men and linked in, even if we had closed that chapter properly, but when am I seeing Halle Berry and stuff in the end credits?
Nope.
Do you know what I mean? It just felt a bit weird. Yes, it was good to finally see Gambit in a way that, you know...
That was cool.
That was cool. It was nice to get the... Wesley Snipes and saying that there will only be... The minute he says there'll only be one blade, makes me laugh.
Oh, how true he was.
That's what made me laugh. You just came into my head. I'm like, Nick's been saying this for a minute. It was good to even see young X-23. There
Yeah.
are cool parts to it. I
Yes.
like the way how Elektra handles the Daredevil's dead. But look, if you're given the chance to play with all these characters, essentially I wanted a bit more, but at the
Chris
same time
Evans playing Johnny Storm.
I saw it straight away though. I saw it straight away. The minute
Oh,
he's
did
like,
you? I thought he was actually Steve. They got
no,
me.
the
They
minute
worked
I
me.
was literally there, and again I've gone with the lady hair, and just like he's gonna say those words, and I went flame on, and she went you what, and he went flame on, and I'm like yes, go on Johnny. Like this is our chance to acknowledge these moments. I feel like if we've had all these Deadpools, I know it sounds stupid. I would have said we should have had Deadpool Prime, which should have been the Wade that met another Logan. I know it sounds stupid, but when we've got two villains and one of them happens to be Charles Xavier's sister, and I'm like, oh god, here comes more comic book research that I got to do. It just felt weak. It was like the purpose of it is a world is dying without Logan, but you guys aren't even from the same universe anyway because it's never been allowed to be that. But now you are part of it, so that you need to find one, and then he gets to come in. But we didn't even find out why his world was so bad. And I was just like, you're a bit flat. It just felt a bit flat. And I meant to. Here's one of the things, and I was saying this to someone just the other day. Here's my take on Ryan Reynolds. Ryan Reynolds is very aware of who Ryan Reynolds is. The problem is he's getting a bit old, in the sense that he is your young teenage jock who could be very self-assured. I know I'm good looking and I can be sarcastic and you're still going to love me. And that's the thing. So I have this, you wind me up, but I do like you, Ryan. That's who he is to me, with the highest degree of respect to him. And it's like, I'm just going to play on these jokes all day long. And it just got a bit tired for me.
Yeah.
Within the world of Deadpool, it just got a bit tired. Like, I'm like, Ryan, I know your shtick. And then, the nice pool, which I kind of enjoyed the joke. Then this part with the weird dog
pool. Dog pool was awesome.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed that more than I did, but it was like, okay, like we've seen the part of, okay, we've turned the MCU a bit dirty. We've done the stuff that Disney don't want to see. I get it.
And
But
so
give me
what?
more.
It didn't
Give me
do
a
anything.
little bit
It
more.
did nothing to advance the story. Nothing. Now, here's my problem with it, AJ. I agree with everything you've just said. And I'd like to preface this by, though I labeled Deadpool and Wolverine visual noise, you saw me, or at least heard me if you're on pod, marking out just now. The nostalgia spots were great. They were such fun. I'm not going to say no. Of course, I marked out when I saw Channing Tatum doing Cajun. Awesome. In order to make these beats stand the test of time, when movies get revisited, the plot has to hold up. Because it's like revealing a bit much here. It's like taking drugs. The first time you ever do it is always the best. All right. Then you go chase. Then you go. Why do you think they call it chasing the dragon? You're still chasing that feeling, right? Here's the thing. Now in that scene that Blade and Gambit and Elektra and X-23, they're walking through the door. The surprise is gone. You will never have that surprise again. So the more you watch this movie, great, the Den Detect seen it 3 times. Beautiful. Maybe it'll take more than 3 times. The novelty of seeing these characters coming through will eventually wear off. It's just normal. It's not something that I'm predicting in some sort of salient way. It's just fact. If you eat ice cream every day, eventually you will get bored of eating ice cream. I know in your case you can't even do that. If you had a McDonald's every day, eventually you're gonna get bored of it.
But bro, here's the thing, and this is why I'll challenge it. Because some people will be like, but what about Endgame? You get the chills every time you hear Assemble. You're damn right. You're damn right. And it could always hit the same way. You give it 5 years, you come back, you hear Assemble again, it does it. However,
but Assemble, that's so different. That is so different. A moment that they took 10 years to build to cannot be compared as a line, as a moment in cinema. A moment, an epic moment for that. The first time you hear, I'd argue that, and when you hear Assemble, it gets better and better every time.
Yeah.
So I think this is completely void in argument, because Assemble just keeps getting better and cooler. Like, I'll watch a YouTube clip of him picking up the hammer and him saying assembled just to get my heart pounding for a moment. It's epic. These are just cameos. They're glorified cameos. You cannot hold cameos and paint them with the same
Bro,
brush as you would something that's been built in a conducive story for 10 years.
but
You're
here's the
kind of
thing.
proving my point here. I'm saying
Yeah,
you can't just have noise. You have to have story. That assemble moment was a story payoff. That's why it was so powerful. And so
here.
now, wait.
Yeah, yeah. I'll let you finish. I'll
Now,
let you finish.
now, here's my question. So once we've gone through our few years of rewatching Deadpool and Wolverine, and we see the cameos, and maybe we're showing it to someone for the first time, and we're hyping off the fact that they get to experience it for the first time, there are ways to keep the cameos fresh for a moment. Eventually, you're going to be in a place where you're just like, it's just plot. What is the story here? And the story is a plot hole ridden mess. Quick question. You said you've seen it twice. When was the last time?
1.5. I just watched it like 2 weeks ago.
Perfect. 2 weeks ago. Very fresh then. Why did the TVA bring Wade in?
Their whole thing, this is what I was saying. Their whole thing was he was meant to save their.
No. Nope.
That's the thing. That's what he thought it was, isn't it? Essentially, I couldn't even tell you, to be honest.
So, big bad of the TVA is openly saying to Wade,
your world's dying, but you can stay in it.
Your world's dying. I can't be asked to wait 1,500 years or whatever it was for it to die. I just want to get rid of it. Okay. So why did you bring him to tell him? Just do it. Just do it. Why the hell did you bring in him to tell him? You're telling me you're not only going to tell the one guy in this little bubble that you're in, you're going to tell the one guy who probably has means to stop you. You're then going to further inform him that he can bring another guy who can stop you even more. I'm sorry. This is the equivalent of Goldfinger telling James Bond his plan while his nuts are about to be lasered off. This is such 1960s plot writing. In the 60s, it was charming, right? It doesn't fly in 2024.
Do you know what?
If they had left Deadpool in his party, not ever come to him and bothered his birthday party. Yeah, we got the pegging joke. Great. Leave him in the party and erase his universe. You win.
Do you know the funny
guys win?
Do you know the funny thing, right? And this is where I think you'll agree. It's harder to show someone, like, if you play the Spider-Man trilogy and be like, oh, these are other guys who played Spider-Man, and this is why they're here, right? It works for us because we grew up with it. But you'll be like, oh, I get it. 3 Spider-Mans have linked up. And you know what? Ultimately, the payoff is they go back home. When you watch this one, you've just brought guys who were from 2 different universes, because you had the Sony universe and the Fox universe coming in.
You're still talking about the geeky stuff for just the point I made.
No, but I'm just saying the plot here. But I'm just saying, like, for the beats, right? The beats work for us. It's very hard because you could just say that. What I'm saying is, when you're looking at the other part now, and someone else sees this Blade walk through, they're like, "Who's he?
Yeah.
Where's Blade?" Do you realize how much you have to piece together in order for it to happen? And
Blade's
what is the payoff?
30 years old. That movie is old.
But what is the payoff? What is the payoff? They die.
Yeah.
Sorry for the spoiler. I didn't even mean to do, because me normally I'm like, careful, hand up and this, that, and the other. This had no payoff. It's like, I'm gonna throw you in just to remove you. It doesn't build it to be like, here's everyone. It's like, okay, yeah. They're just gonna keep fighting for the heck of fighting, and that was it. It's a very weird, no reason to bring you in, short of it's going to be a cameo fest to close off the doors of shows that are no longer
So it's
there.
a cameo fest, and the cameos were fun. I keep saying the cameos were fun, but do you agree with the plot point I'm mentioning here?
Bro, I agree. But I'm also saying, if it was meant to be a cameo fest, you should have thrown the kitchen sink, and you didn't. So that's what Deadpool 3 was promised to be. It was meant to be the cameo fest. Oh, wait till you see who else is there. It's not just Deadpool and Wolverine. Okay, fair enough. I would have preferred to see someone else than Cavill.
Yeah, on my ranking, spoiler for that review, it got a B. Mid-tier movie for me, this one, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I get it. That's why it hasn't broken the top 5 for me, and that is saying something.
And what's your number 6 then?
My number 6 is a biopic released on Valentine's Day. My brother loved it. I thought it was, yeah. One Love.
Hang on. I texted you as I came out the movie theater. I quite like this film. I
No, here's the
remember
thing.
you not liking it.
Here's the thing. And sometimes I can be overly critical. I feel I don't like the pacing of this film. I feel that had you given me a direct timeline of a young Bob and brought it through to where he was at the end, and here's the thing, here's the thing, we just talked about plot missing out and what have you. My brother, here's the funny thing, my brother had just walked out, I had just sat down. So he's saying like, bro, amazing film. And I'm like, bro, I'm about to watch it. Now, I'm not going down the Deadpool 1 and me and Campier's beef. I said this from the beginning, and we'll say this when we were doing Silver Screen News, right? I'm quite aware of Bob Marley's history. I'm aware that some people aren't, and it will be good for them, but I hope they highlight it. Now, where you're talking about, this guy talks about, I want to end your world in Deadpool and Wolverine, just end it. Why are we talking about, look at Bohemian Rhapsody, the build up to Live Aid. Even though it's a small mention, you realize it's going to be a big thing and Queen changed the world. How many times does Bob talk about, I want to perform in Africa? I have to do it for the people of Africa. I shouldn't read that Bob done a concert in Africa. That felt like such a weak payoff in this build up of a story. Like it's told 100 times. Listen, I've said it time and time again. My love for Lashana Lynch increases each time I see that woman in a film, and that is no exception. She played an awesome Rita Marley. Ben Kingsley, I can't remember his
Kingsley Benedict.
Kingsley Benedict, that's the one I knew. Yeah, it's not Ben Kingsley, but like he was an awesome Bob. He done really well, but I feel like I'm watching this story and you're seeing one thing, and then you're seeing this young kid who I thought was trying to imitate Bob Marley, only for me to realize that we've gone back in time to see a young Bob Marley in the formation. I think the pacing kept throwing me off because there was no relevance in making it a flashback when you could have just built the story in itself. The payoff that we had to get was not shown. It was something to just read. Bob Marley has 101 kids, and I'm not being disrespectful when I say that. It's kind of mentioned. No, but it's kind of mentioned in the show. The only thing we ever hear is, but what about Ziggy? What about Ziggy? Like, bro, like I get that Ziggy's known, but guess what? We're also in a world where Damien is more relevant than Ziggy. Like, Ziggy Marley's time was in the early 90s. Early 2000s, everyone's talking about Damien. They've done collabs together, and I know there's feuds, and this one is involved, and they don't want to do it, but what about the kids in that case? Then Ziggy, and I get it. Yes, you're Rita's kid. I get it, right? But these are the elements that troubled me. There were stellar performances in this.
Yeah, I thought Benedict was fantastic as Marley.
It wasn't overly eye-opening because I'm familiar with Bob's story. So some people will be like, Bob Marley was mixed race. I found out many years ago. Do you know what I mean? But so what would be a takeaway for you to find it amazing? Is something like, oh, well, at least they acknowledged it. And I get that. So to some people, there is more of a takeaway if you don't know the story, which I feel is prevalent in any biopic for anybody. You know, there are some people who be like, they didn't show me much in Elvis. I knew his whole life. I get it. For me,
do you know my biggest takeaway from One Love was finding out that Exodus was voted the best album of the 20th century? I thought that was awesome. I didn't know
cool.
that. It's really cool.
It had some good moments.
That's the thing. I was singing Marley for days after that movie, I have to say.
Good. I'm happy it done its mission. I just felt like it could have been told differently, and I needed the right payoff. That's my biggest takeaway from this film.
Back to Black just called AJ.
That's why she's at number 8.
Yeah. Fact.
That's why she's at number 8. Good film, could have been better.
Yes, agreed. B movie.
Yeah.
No, not a B movie. B ranked, I mean, sorry.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. So that was my 7 and 6.
My 7 for a lot of people is going to be their movie of the year. I loved it, but I also thought it was very flawed. Dune 2. Or Dune Part 2, I should say.
I would
it's very good.
No, do you know, the other day it hit me that we're going to do this, and really and truly, oh, sorry, we both went for the same thing there. Yeah, there we go. I would, you know, when you're like, damn, I missed it, and I just didn't rush to see it in time for this, but it's on my list because I really enjoyed Dune 1. I really did. Part 1, but yeah.
this has got a lot more action than part one. Like, wow. Like, Austin Butler's in this. He's great. He's absolutely fantastic in it. Arguably steals the show. Solid performances top to bottom. It's so pretty, this movie. Like, I didn't. Do you know who Marie Kondo is, or have you not seen that
Yes,
stuff on
yes, yes,
Netflix?
yes, yes, yeah.
Yeah, this is like if Marie Kondo did the desert.
Packed everything.
Like everything is just like spark joy, super tidy. It's
Thank you for
crazy.
your sand.
Yeah. It literally that. It's like Marie Kondo did the desert. I'm not even kidding. There is, and this isn't so much the movie's fault. This is just down to the source material. And I got so much hate in my review for saying this, but I thought the comments that were coming in my direction kind of proved my point. It's basically a white savior movie. Like, there's no escaping it. White boy saves the Arabs. Like, there's no way around it. The Fremen, like, it's Lawrence of Arabia stuff. It's a white savior story. And I said that in the review. I said it's brilliant, but it's a white savior story. And then one of the comments, I can't remember who said it, so apologies if you're watching now, but one of the comments I thought was brilliant because they were trying to prove me wrong and prove me right in the process. No, it's not a white savior story. Frank Herbert even wrote other books justifying how it's not a white savior story. Didn't get it right on that first writing then, did he?
Kind of what I thought when I had that. Like,
so man had to justify his choices. Well, actually,
like, if you need to justify it, it's kind of showing something else.
You know what I mean? And I was like, yeah, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Campier said it's the best movie he's seen of the 21st century. To that, I say, sit down, have a Coke and a smile, and shut the F up. Like, it doesn't even register in the top 30 movies I've seen in the 21st century. You know, this is Lord of the Rings territory, Kill Bill, Toy Story 3, Inception, freaking Dark Knight. Like, shush. Like, no. Just no. Don't be silly. Yeah. But it's a brilliant film, and it's definitely one you should have seen in the cinema.
Yeah, I did kind of miss out on that
one. Yeah, you will have seen this because it's right up your street. You're about to say punt again. Number 6, The Iron Claw.
Yeah, that is definitely a punt. That's a punt.
I know him.
Yeah. Number 5 is... Yeah, this one. I'm going to stick with it. Number 5, The Fall Guy.
Great film.
I had a lot of fun with this film. Sometimes, do you know what? I'd even go as far as to say it was redemption for Barbie, for 𝑺𝒊𝒍𝒗𝒆𝒓, because he came back on top form. He was a brilliant Ken, mind you, best bit of the film. But
he was the hero in Barbie. I still maintain that. Barbie was the villain in that film.
Yeah. Yeah, you're not wrong. But this was a lot of fun. And it's weird because sometimes when you've got these TV shows made into movies, it could go so right and it could go oh so wrong. I'm not the biggest Fall Guy TV fan, but I've seen a couple of episodes here and there. They took it away from that, but still made it its own. And the pairing with him and Emily Blunt was golden. I just had a lot of fun in this film. More fun than I expected. I was like, I thought it'd just be a takeaway film. I know saying that and having it at number 5 means it was middle ground for me, but no, I had a lot of fun with this film.
A spiritual successor to Bullet Train is how I see it, you know, and
You're not wrong.
Yeah. We need movies like this sort of, they're big budget, but they're very targeted at being AA blockbusters. They're not part of a big IP or a franchise or anything. They just exist by themselves. Shame that it flopped so hard at the box office, because boy, did people not turn out to see this, sadly, because it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. It could have been about 25 minutes shorter, I thought, though. Like the way they kept on going back to ATJ's apartment. I was like, we're retreading a bit here, guys.
I'll give you that. There was a part where you're like, okay, film's still on. Not that you hate it, but it could have been a bit shorter.
Could have been tightened up. But great, fun summer action film. You know, since the MCU arrived, actually, the summer blockbuster doesn't really exist that much anymore. And it's, the traditional one in this sense, the way a Will Smith used to have a summer blockbuster. It was never a big IP. Or sorry, rather, it was never part of a franchise or anything, but it was just a standalone Will Smith action movie. You used to get them throughout the summer. We don't really get those anymore. This is filling that Will Smith action movie shaped void in my heart. I like this, and I like Bullet Train. They're definitely action movies. I'll be like, you know what? They're not Predator or True Lies because the chopper and the Harrier jump jet. No, it's not that.
No, there's no memorable line or anything crazy
They're
like
fun.
that. But
They're
it's
fun.
just a nice bit of fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice bit of action, nice bit of fun. What would you need? And a little tad of romance, because why not? Yeah.
I feel bad for John Krasinski, to be honest. These ain't jokes.
Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Well played. Well played. But yes, so that was my number 5. Your number 5, sir.
From laughs to tears, mate. My number 5 saw it at the London Film Festival. Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. Oh my God. Did I bawl my eyes out in this movie? As, by the way, did every single person in that cinema screen. There was not a dry eye in the audience. I haven't seen an audience weeping like this since Titanic. Like, this was epic tears all round, mate. Now, we all think we know the Christopher Reeve story. Oh, Jesus, this ran deep. And it was so personal because you see it from the point of view of his children. You see never before seen footage of both his girlfriend and his previous wife. You see what he went through. This is all never before seen stuff of just the struggle he went through when he became paralyzed and how heartbreaking it was. There's things we know, like when he showed up at the Oscars and he was in the wheelchair and he still managed to give that speech, right? All the way up to his untimely death. It is so sad what this family and man went through. And he really was a Superman. He really, really was superhuman, what he did and what he tried to do and how he tried to overcome being paralyzed from the neck down. Like, unreal. There's one line, and it's what it put me over, like completely tipped me over the edge. And I heard in the cinema there was a lot of other people who started crying at exactly this moment.
Hold on, stop. Is it one that people shouldn't, for the benefit of those who've not seen it, including myself?
No, it's not like a big spoiler or anything. It's like, him and Robin Williams were like best friends, right?
Does it hurt more if you don't know it's coming, like you hear it and it's just like,
I don't think so. I don't think so, because the movie takes you on such a freaking emotional build-up. Something's going to happen along that way that will tip you over. In my case, it just happened to be this because of the affinity I have for Robin Williams. And clearly other people in the cinema felt the same way. A huge part of this movie is focused on his friendship with Robin Williams, because they were both Juilliard trained. They were roommates at Juilliard. And it shows, them hanging out pre-paralysis and post-paralysis, Robin being hopeful for his friend. And there's this line that Glenn Close says, which is, if Christopher Reeve was still about, I believe Robin Williams would still be with us. It was like such a fucking knife in the heart, AJ. I was like, oh God. That's
a touch. That again. So you see when we talked about the chills down the spine earlier, that one, goosebumps. Like, yeah, oh man, life.
I cannot recommend you as a comic book guy. Add this to your freaking collection. You own that piece of crap Phantom movie. Add this.
Yeah, do you know what? I was going through my list recently, and I was like, I need to get back on form. Get back on form, because there's a few.
Do you own Jonah Hex?
Yes, I've not watched it, but I own it.
Do you own?
Hold on, Jonah Hex. That's
Brolin?
Yeah, I do have it. I think I did watch that one when we done the Brolin movie. Actually, I didn't mind it.
Ashamed of yourself. Do you own Road to Perdition?
No.
That's a comic book movie.
Yeah.
Graphic novel,
Yeah.
technically. But yeah, Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. Mate, incredible. Holy Christ, I gave out 3 10 out of 10s this year. This got a 10.
Oh, nice.
You
Sorry,
see, this is why I
websites.
don't like to give them out. When you give them out like candy, it starts to minimize their value.
Oh, mate. Yeah, yeah. But hey, if it's a good year, it's a good year. Listen, we're at season 7. So if 3 have come out now, it's not like there was one each year. You've held back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
You're number
mate.
4. You're number 4.
Okay. Right, my number 4. I'm going to change this. I'm going to change this because the more I think of it, the more I feel number 3 and 4 need to be swapped around through enjoyment. So my number 4 now is The Punch from Inside Out 2.
Ain't it good?
Like, listen, Inside Out. Inside Out is one of those films that I know your love for it is always going to be greater than mine. It's the way it is. But
Best Pixar movie ever. Fact.
Well, again,
best Pixar movie ever.
Like, this is where the balance comes in. I don't. There's nothing. I feel like for me, and it sounds weird. I needed to have a bit of a refresher in the Inside Out characters before going into 2, which I didn't. That's how I felt. Like, I knew them, and I was like, yeah, I always like Anger. He was always my guy. Congratulations, New York.
You ruined pizza.
Yeah, first the Hawaiians, now it was New York. Yeah, but like all of this, there was great fun. It was nice to see the gang back together, and then Anxiety coming in just is the whirlwind that you kind of expect it when, because we've all had anxiety in life, we can all relate to what anxiety is. So seeing it from an internal point of view was a lot of fun. Some of the other characters were interesting as well, but I think it was such a focus on anxiety. Obviously, there was such a focus on joy in the first film, but you still kind of see how the others survive. This one, everyone else is very much secondary to your 2 main characters. You know, it felt like Toy Story now because it was like Buzz and Woody in Toy Story 1. They're opposed and everyone else just has to survive in the chaos around it, kind of thing. It had a nice journey, you know, when they're trying to create the memories and visuals of what, you know, I like the thoughts, and they're drawing one thing, she starts to get happy, then they go sad because anxiety kicks in and realizes where the original crew are, stuff like that. It was very smart. It was a good journey. But this is the thing. It expanded on number 1, but it wasn't number 1. And if I've got this, that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. There are many films that are very good that don't match their original film, you know, or somewhere further on in their franchise.
More often than not, that is the case. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But
this comes back to the point I was making about Deadpool and Wolverine. It's the novelty factor.
Yeah.
Inside Out 2 didn't have the novelty of Inside Out 1. In the case of Deadpool and Wolverine, the cameos will eventually wear off.
Yeah. And it's good to, you know, as you said, it is that to be that perspective. And like, don't get me wrong, we had, what was it, Elemental or Elements last year or the year before. Couldn't touch a beat, but we know that they tried to do Inside Out meets Zootopia or Zootropolis, whichever one you want to play, by creating that film.
It was fine, Elemental, I think.
Average as. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? I think that if
made
I had
good money.
To do the rankings, it
made very good money.
But I would have ranked it. If we're doing the ranking, it would have been C for me. It wouldn't have been B. Do you know what I mean? It was.
I'd agree with that. I'd agree with that.
And this was cool. It was nice. I just felt in the same breath that it was good, and we had to find ways to calm anxiety down, which, you know, many of us could take as a good takeaway. I felt at points it kind of felt like the film dragged as well. You know, I felt there was a drag, and I don't like to feel a film drag, especially from Pixar as well. So it was like, it was fun, but not great. You know, it was a good comeback. It was a good comeback for the characters. Good introduction.
It was a good continuation. Yeah, I thought Ennui stole the show. I thought Ennui was fantastic.
So cool.
Oui. And they had so many clever jokes, like bottled up emotions. Like, they're all in the glass jar. I thought that they had so many clever jokes.
There were some smart ideas. It was creative. It's very creative, and I'll never knock it.
It is, and it's top tier Pixar. This it didn't have that fresh novelty that the first one brought because it's a continuation. But what it did freaking well.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Now we need to have Part 3 in 10 years' time when Riley's a mum. Yeah.
Parental anxiety. Yeah.
Yeah. Give it the Toy Story 3 treatment. Make us wait 10 years, have the nostalgia, and then hit us.
But then it's fine as long as we do that in the right way. But I think in the elements of what Toy Story 5 could well be, with the rumors circulating. But I just don't want them to do the mistake of a Inside Out 4, in trying to create Inside Out 3. Yeah. We're not here to bury. We're here to talk about the best of
The
2020.
best. So Inside Out 4 was your Inside Out 4. Inside Out 2 was your
My number 4.
slow
Yes.
down. Inside Out 2 was your number 4. My number 4 for a long time was my number 2 until number 1 and 2 came along. But yeah, was my number 2 for a long time. Kirsten Dunst in one of her career best performances, Alex Garland's Civil War. Oh my God, what a film.
Do you know what? I actually saw the poster for Civil War before, but if you bring that back up, I think I would have rushed to the cinema had I read that on the poster before. Because people, did you see that 28 days later, 𝒃𝒏𝒄𝒄𝒆𝒆𝒏 and Annihilation? I mean, that kind of gives you the feels, doesn't it? And the A24 logo.
And the beach, and he's done other things too. Like Alex Garland, along with Aaron Sorkin, is one of the finest writers in Hollywood today. He's goated, mate. I'd actually go so far as to say I'd actually like Alex Garland to write the next James Bond movie. That's how good I think he is.
Oh, nice. I wouldn't disagree.
That would be my pick. But yeah, he's an amazing, amazing writer. This is in. So do you know the premise of it at all?
Well, the American Civil War, I'm guessing.
No. Jesus, no. No, not at all.
Type period pieces. Okay.
No, God, no.
That's
Wow.
incorrect.
Oh, no. Miles off. So it's kind of pseudo post-apocalyptic, but very, very, very near future. All right.
Okay.
Certain states, modern day, have formed coalitions. Ironically, they happen to be Texas and California, which are two states that just do not get along. But yeah, so Texas and California have formed like this super coalition state. You've got all the money from California and all the money and the oil money and the Gulf money from Texas. And they formed this super coalition state. And all the other states have kind of formed together and banded against these two super states. And it's created, as the title implies, a civil war. And what Kirsten Dunst goes, she's a reporter. And her big thing is, we're on the precipice of overthrowing the president. That's when the story picks up. Her big thing is she wants to get an interview with the president before he gets overthrown. Very, very relevant. It feels very Assad regime, if you will. And she's on this mad cross-country road trip to try and get to Washington in order to interview him. Whether she does or doesn't is, for you to discover. But some of the morbid, horrible shib she sees along the way. There's one scene in particular. It's in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling anything if you haven't seen it, with Jesse Plemons, where he's sort of executing soldiers from the other states. And he stops them in the car. He's like, "Where are you going?" And she's like, "We're going to interview the president. We're American." And there's this chilling line. He says, "What type of American?"
I thought that was going to be the one. Oh.
Yeah. And the whole movie is poised on that sort of tension of, am I about to be killed here just because of this crazy situation the United States finds itself in? It's incredible. Absolutely incredible.
You know what's reminiscent to me? But very different at the same time, because one is rooted in fact or what have you. When when they start breaking down the two different tribes in Hotel Rwanda. Yeah. Okay. Nice. I think.
You know who didn't like it? Because it probably struck a bit too close to the bone for them. And I'm not projecting. Some of America. What type of American? Trump supporters.
Agent Orange.
Yeah. They did not like this film. Idiots like Nerdrotic, who I have a personal beef with. But yeah, that brand of critic who are all about, spewing hate and looking for any negative they find, watch a movie like this, which is intelligent, it's salient, it's topical, it's semi-relevant, and it semi holds a mirror up to, hey, this could be a reality soon. And it just obviously rubbed them up the wrong way.
Sometimes films can be prophetic. Sometimes films can be prophetic.
God, it's good, AJ. I cannot recommend it enough. Civil War, my number 4.
Cool. Right, in at number 3 for me,
yes.
I think when I briefly mentioned this to you before, you said that the reviews for it were terrible. Now, I can't remember if this is when we were trying to plan to come back or just as we had left. But I can't remember. Either way, matters not. Strangers, chapter... Yeah, The Strangers, chapter 1.
Yeah, the reviews for this were indeed terrible.
Now, here's the thing. We all know I don't do horror.
No, I'm shocked this is so high for you.
I don't do horror. And on top of that, I'm not familiar with the original. Maybe it's because I'm not familiar with the other Strangers. It works for me. But I just randomly happened. This was the most random film, like, to me. You know, when I don't have the world's biggest cinema next to me. So sometimes when you're hoping to see other stuff and you're like, okay, this will do because it's on now. Like, it was, I'm going to go cinema
because it's on now, yep.
Yeah,
literally.
it was that. It was literally, I'm going to go because it's on now, and I'm going to go cinema. There was not, I'm in a place with 4 screens, and every other film would start. So I was like, let's give this a shot. And coincidentally, it worked. This could be one of the few films I could say where I say I had a bad year of being able to stay awake. I was awake for this throughout, and I was invested. It's not the world's biggest chills. I wasn't going to, but it had me like, oh gosh, what's happening next? Oh, okay, what's going on here? And I'm waiting for chapter 2 essentially because it gave me a story. I enjoyed it. You know, 2 people from the city coming out into, they're meant to go somewhere, pull up because their car's playing up. I believe their car was playing up, or they needed fuel or something. I think they stopped for fuel, stopped for something to eat. Then their car's playing up. He starts accusing the townsfolk of tampering with his cars to get him to stay because it's like, oh well, I know a motel where you could stay at. You know, it all kind of falls into, well, how very convenient. I've stopped to eat. My car's broken down. You need to fix it. There's somewhere else for me to stay. So, you know, it's the city boy attacking the country boys. And yeah, the shithousery ensues from there. But I was like, this is okay. And don't get me wrong, maybe if you're a big fan of The Strangers, you're like, is this how you're trying to give me the origin story? Suck on that one. Maybe. I'm not sure. You know, maybe for an aficionado of the horror genre, you're like, nah. But I walked out.
Just saying
it. I was with, we're both going like, this wasn't bad. So when I was told like, this is terrible, I was like, but then hey, I'm the one who still wants to see that film with Chloe. What's her name? Oh god, it's a double-barrel surname. Chloe Grace Moretz.
Yeah.
Is it? Yeah. You know, that alien invasion story that got canned and no one's going to see the follow-up to it. But I enjoyed it. So it might be in that weird territory of films that people shit on, and I don't mind it. But I didn't think it was bad.
Maybe, yeah.
It stuck out to me.
Interesting. You recommending a horror has definitely got me interested. I have
you might
to say.
watch it. Like, listen, I was all over Megan and you hated it. So I'm not saying you're going to love it. But it's not. I'm not hyping it as much as Megan. I'm not going to do that. But it was a decent watch. I just thought it was a decent watch.
Sorry, getting late. I will check that out. That sounds fun. Right, my number 3, which until the film festival was my number 1, and it was the first movie I saw in 2023, and I was like, sorry, 2024, and I'm like, it's gonna have to be a damn good year to knock this off its perch, and very little could. Yorgos Lanthimos's Poor Things.
I remember you bringing this up actually. Gosh, I forgot about that.
January, beginning of January release. What a freaking film. Emma
Sorry,
Stone.
this is the dude. This is the favorite dude, isn't it?
Yeah.
Probably why I was a bit hesitant to go see
it.
People will hate me.
This is such a weird fairy tale take on Frankenstein. I can't tell you. It's so Emma Stone has the brain of a child put in her, but she's in the body of an adult. Kind of got a Freaky Friday meets Frankenstein thing happening.
Do you know what it is? It sounds like the mirror image to The Orphan.
Yeah. And Willem Dafoe, who is like the Dr. Frankenstein character, he's helping her grow up. And you know, the opening is sort of her soiling herself, and it's purposefully off-putting because you're like, I'm watching an adult human woman do these things. It's odd, it's weird, and it's purposefully weird. It goes so far with the sexual material, like it's crazy. Didn't know Emma Stone had a massive hairy bush. Like, wow, like.
But I mean,
Damn.
it's not hard to grow one if these people.
I mean, yeah, I mean, and it made sense given that it was meant to be a kind of quasi-period piece. So it's, yeah, in that time they wouldn't have been going Brazilian, would they? So yeah, it's hypersexual fairy tale take on Frankenstein. Some of the best art direction I've seen ever, like ever. And a story about how this woman manipulates men to do her bidding. Now, imagine children who know how to play mum and dad off of each other, right? Here's the analogy I'll leave you with. Like my daughter, age 3, is doing it now. Daddy, can I have some chocolate? Did your mum say it was okay? Yeah, she did. But you've already had 3 pieces today. Are you sure she said it was okay? Yeah, she said it's fine. Here's a piece of chocolate. 2 minutes later, why the F did you give her chocolate? She said you said it was okay. She's a child. And my daughter's lying to me, right? The way that kids know how to play parents off against each other, imagine they were armed with sex. And I know that's a grim, horrible thought that ultimately this is a child, right? The mind of a child in an adult woman body. It's meant to give you the ick. It's freaking fantastic.
Interesting. Oh dear. One sec.
You adding it to your to see list, poor things, even
I
though
will
it's
see.
your
Well,
goss.
we'll see.
Even though it's old Yorgos Lanthimos, who you've got a very mixed relationship with.
Just check the PC maybe. But
Damn.
am I wrong? Biggest tool, right?
Fact.
Right, there we go. Okay. But yeah. Yeah, okay. Right. In at number 2. Now, this, I know your instant reaction for me to talk about number 2. I will add that to the list again. Was it Poor Things, yeah?
Poor Things.
Is it on Disney? Is it on Disney Plus?
It wouldn't surprise me because his other movie, yes, it must be on Disney because they've got a deal with Yorgos. His new movie, Kinds of Kindness, which came out this year, and I didn't have a chance to see fully. It's also on Disney Plus. Weird as hell. Check it out.
I'll give it a shot. I'll try to give it a shot. Now, this film, I know you'll say could be part of the hype machine, you know, and the experience I had. You know where I'm going with this.
I don't.
It's one of, the minute I say this, you go, oh, I know where you're going. This is one of the first films filmed in Sky Studios. I had the privilege of being invited to a screening because I happened to be right on the doorstep of Sky Studios.
Why am I drawing a blank? Drawing a blank.
Oh, bro, I just went last week, and you were like, enjoy the _ว์𝒃𝒏.
Oh, shut up! It's not,
bro. Here's the thing, and I'm not joking when I say this. Wicked is my number 2. All right, and I say this as someone who, as much as I had a free ticket, thought I was going to despise the film. And the reason I thought I was going to despise the film, I didn't overly enjoy the play. I did not overly enjoy it. And that sounds weird. AJ being Mr. Connections and everything I watch, unless you're going to tell me it's a whole new universe, I really enjoyed Oz the Great and Powerful, which I know a lot of people didn't enjoy. Funny enough, the other day, I saw some comments. I have some supporters out there who enjoyed that film. But taking that aside, I went to see the musical and I was like, this isn't linked. And I just had all these different questions. I went to see this film. And yeah, I had the whole razzmatazz and I got to see the set props and all of this stuff in Sky Studios in the screening room. But I don't have anything to knock this film for. Like, genuinely. Did it need to be 2-parter? Have they overly extended on parts?
It's a 2-parter?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
But here's the thing, bro. And this is something where I will say is a testament to this film. As a man who said, I have fallen asleep in that cinema more times than I should have, this didn't have me falling asleep. I'm going to say much because there was a time I nodded off. 2 hours and 40 did not feel like 2 hours and 40 in there. right?
2 hours 40.
Yeah, did not feel
Yeah,
like 2 hours
good.
40.
No, I'm good.
I did not expect that from Ariana Grande. Um, I I wasn't expecting this film to give me something that I would enjoy. And again, you're playing with a classic. Either way you look at it, you're always playing with a classic in the shape of the Wizard of Oz. So whether it be Oz, whether it be Wicked, whether it be this new rendition of Wicked, I feel like you could be on a dangerous course. I don't have anything to hate this film for, apart from maybe extending it because they knew they could have made it a two-part. It was actually fun. I'm not going to say like there's takeaway great musicals that I'm going to be like, oh my god, I have to play this again. Yeah, Gravity's from the musical and they've put it in there at some point. The film was fun. I had a good time in the cinema. I mean, ask away on questions. I don't. It's if you know this story, it's about the friendship that was before the hatred that was. You know, that's essentially the core of it all. But what they've done with this one is there was a hatred followed by a friendship, followed by well, we're going to see the hatred develop.
I don't like The Wizard of Oz. I therefore don't care about seeing a prequel to The Wizard of Oz.
Do you know the funny thing? I don't even think you need to be that connected to Wizard of Oz.
Surely.
Now that I think of it, you don't. You don't. It starts off in Oz with a bit of a spoiler, but not major spoiler. It starts off with the death of the Wicked Witch of the West. Now, if anyone was to call that a spoiler, sorry, I don't know where you've been in life. But it then goes to the question, but you knew her and you were her friend. And then it takes you away. And now you've got the introduction of two characters. Yes, the Wizard of Oz is eventually introduced, but it's its own entity. I don't know if you'll dislike it, you know. I actually don't know if you'll dislike it.
2 hours and 40. My guy hasn't seen Lord of the Rings from start to finish yet, and he's committing 2 hours 40 to this.
But here's the thing, it kept my attention, but it's not like I've not tried with Lord of the Rings.
That just hurts me to my
But
core.
no. Here's the thing. I'm not going to say, and I stand here now as a man who's not watched it. I'm not going to try and proclaim that this film is going to be better than Lord of the Rings once I find.
Obviously not.
No. But I'm just saying. But
most awarded film of all time versus Wicked, like obviously not.
Hey. Let's wait and see what February brings. You might have to eat your own words. I'm not saying it will happen. But imagine if it did. If they take 12, you have to take it.
No, if they take 12, it's a draw. It hasn't outdone it.
Okay.
They ain't taking 12. Let me tell you right now, they ain't taking 12. You can take that to the bank and put your life savings on it. They ain't taking 12.
Okay.
La La Land took 6. This ain't beating 6. This ain't getting 6.
Bro, just either way, irrelevant of awards.
It will get probably, this is a horrible thing to say, but it will get, okay, here's a way of saying it. It will get all of the awards that people don't care about. Costume design, makeup, set design, art direction. Things which do have merit, but which your average person doesn't give 2 squirts of urine about.
Okay. All right.
Tell me I'm wrong.
No, but listen, I've always been that way. But hey, it's what helped make the numbers for Lord of the Rings as well, so we can't knock them when we're counting them.
How dare you, sir? Best director.
But obviously, those are the ones that we care about. But it's weird for me to advise you to. Here's the thing, with the adventure I had, there was a chance to get more tickets. You saw I put it out there, and my biggest takeaway was I'm hoping I can get my brother and kids. And his thing was, are you mad? Try to get my kids to sit for 3 hours, not a chance. And I get that. But here's the thing. A man who has fallen asleep on Despicable Me 4 was crapping himself at the idea of sitting for 2 hours and 40. Was able to do it. It's not bad. I would love for you to say wait for it to be on TV and hopefully do the intro with your kid, but it's not for them. I think as a film fan, I wouldn't mind you seeing it. This is the biggest one. I'd be like, bro, I don't know if you'll hate it.
I suppose I have to watch it, don't I'll watch it. Fine. Out of morbid curiosity, I'll watch it. I still object to the fact that they cast 2 singers in acting roles, though. But anyway.
But I mean, it's a musical. You can see where they go.
So get actors who can sing, not singers who can't act.
Well, to be fair, one is a stage actress.
Don't you to be fair me now, AJ?
Bro, one is famous for being on stage, and the other started off in TV before she had a music career.
No, you don't get to be fair me. Stop it with your facts.
Bro, check Ariana Grande's history. She was on TV before she ever picked up a mic.
There's a reason she ain't on TV anymore, huh? That's like freaking Martin Lawrence saying, "Yeah, remember who the original host of Def Jam was? Yeah, original."
Anyway, we digress. But give it a shot. I would love to see. I'd love to see it.
All right, my number 2, my third 10 out of 10 of the year. By the way, my number 1 got 9.5 out of 10.
It happens. It happens.
You know what? I think the only reason I didn't give my number 1 10 out of 10 because I was like, 4 is a piss take. Like, that's too much. I've devalued my 10s here. My 10s, the Nico 10 is like holy water. Like.
So here's a question. Before we say this now, before you reveal your thing and the fact that there was nearly 4 10 out of 10s, could this be your favorite year of film?
No.
Okay.
No, because as you know, based on this very list, look, you know, there's movies like Bird, which I think I gave 8 out of 10 or 8.5 out of 10 to, and Cyborg, which was lower, got 10 out of 10. I've never found it, which is why I've always been a bit trepidatious about even scoring movies, which is why if you've been watching the channel a while, you know that there was a period when I was doing reviews where I didn't even give scores.
It was like must watch.
Yeah. Because the inadvertent trap you fall into when you're scoring is that people think you're comparing apples to apples, when in fact, just because one movie's 10 and one movie's 9, it's not a direct comparison. It's apples and oranges. You know, there's so much thought that goes into for me at least, the scoring of a film is like within its genre as a standalone. I never ever consider my scores holding them up to other movies which have scored similar. For me, they have to be separate entities.
Interesting. No, naturally.
I think back in the day, I would have given Inception probably 8 out of 10. I much prefer Inception to any movie I've seen this year.
I get you. Sorry. No, do you know what it is? When I said interesting, because I was there and I was like, there are parts of Ariana that's going to annoy you, but I still feel you need to see the film. It's just what it's meant to be.
He's backtracking already. He's backtracking.
No, I'm not backtracking. You need to watch it. But it's the parts that are meant to be comedic. It's not 𝑺𝒊𝒍𝒗𝒆𝒓 or whatever it was from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which really done you in.
Oh.
No, it's not that, but.
Oh, you bring that movie up. The second Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. God damn, I'd forgotten that thing existed. Oh.
Anyway, we digress. Your number 2. Your number 2 is.
Speaking of number 2s, a Japanese film. Again, lucky enough to see this at the London Film Festival. It's called Living in Two Worlds. Now, here's the premise.
I'm familiar with this. Maybe it's because I saw your review. I don't know. No, hold on.
Well, the review's out. The review's definitely out, so I'd be touched if it is because of that.
Maybe I'll be. Because I've not seen it. I know I've not seen it. That's a fact.
Do you know what a coda is? If you don't, it's okay. It's not a big thing. Child of deaf adults.
No, I was not familiar with that.
Okay. You've got this young kid. He's born with perfect hearing and everything. Both his parents are deaf. So now the movie sets up this wonderful dynamic. How does a kid get raised when the 2 closest people to him can't speak or provide sound and his hearing's on point, right? And the movie shows this wonderful lifespan of this boy being born. And little things like, you know, because the mother's deaf, she can't hear him scream at night when he's crying, right? So it's things like all these things that we take for granted because of sound. So, you know, she eventually attaches a string to her arm so that when he's kicking, she gets pulled. Little quirks like that. But when she's cooking, she can't hear him crying in the background. And you've got the scenes of like the neighbors coming in going, hey, kid. Like, so it's the parents having to adapt to the needs of a child, right? And not really having a good support system around them, because everyone thinks, frankly, they're crazy. And there's logic to that thought. Two deaf people trying to raise a kid, like, whew. And the movie shows just how difficult that is. But now here's where the movie is genius.
Beautiful, right?
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah.
But
Here's
where the movie is genius. From birth up to the kind of naive years, right? Where, you know, you're a kid, sort of age 5 to 8, where you still think your parents are sacred and everything they can do is perfect. It shows him going through that period of unawareness and naivete into his teenage years, where he realizes his parents are different. And by proxy, he's different with all his sign language and stuff. And he gets treated differently as such. He can speak. He speaks perfectly. It's like the parents being deaf doesn't have an impact on him.
Well, he still has to go to school, wouldn't he? So it's
yeah. He's on point. Everything's fine with him. But it's him then going into his teenage years and feeling, you know, the natural embarrassment you feel towards your parents as a teenager anyway. But add to that this kind of bittersweet, not even bittersweet, bitter resentment that he feels towards them for just not being normal normal parents, to them being in his early 20s and not wanting to talk to them anymore because he wants to distance himself from that, to going into his late 20s and coming to a place of acceptance and understanding. This whole emotional journey he goes through that's directly correlated to how old he is. It is freaking spectacular, this film.
I'm intrigued. But I can see the beauty.
Amazing. It's amazing.
You know, who has the right to put a limitation on love, essentially? You know,
like the American healthcare system. I invite you to watch my review of a movie called '𝒃𝒐𝒖𝒕, which, by the way, nearly made the list. 2 people, handicapped, one suffering from. Very quick analogy here, since we're on that topic. Very good question. Both of them are handicapped. One who I believe has Asperger's. One who has cerebral palsy. You know, from My Left Foot. That shit. And they want to get married. You know what the American institutions turn around and say to them? If you two get married and therefore have a dual income, even though one of them is one of those school crossing lollipop holders and one of them literally can't leave his own house.
Take away your benefits.
Your healthcare benefit, everything gone if you get married because you're living in one household. Live separately, don't get married. Oh, but this is real. It's a documentary.
No. No, my disgust is my disgust. Whether fiction
live separately, don't get married. We'll keep paying for your healthcare and for your bills, which is obviously in America because they don't have national healthcare. Thousands and thousands, tens and 20s of thousands a year that these guys, thank God, are paid for. And it's them fighting the justice system and the healthcare system and the civil system to try and get married and not lose out on their health benefits. Amazing.
But what kind of a justification does one have to say that?
AJ, land of the free, man. Don't you want to live in America?
Do you know? If you'd asked me that question 20 years ago, all day long, I would have said, yeah, can't wait.
Now, not a chance now.
Huh?
Not a chance in
and
hell.
It's not to do with any presidential regime. I don't want anyone to think I'm taking a side. I know we've been quite vocal about stuff like that. But it's my fear, and I'm not saying Great Britain is the great land of everything, but in a world where your healthcare system is chargeable, in a world where I believe your fear of communism has you taken anything that has state provision to it, you know, even to the degree of this, that even where it does exist, you're now looking to remove it by a simple loophole of get married and you're going to screw yourself over. There's many plot holes in the great land. That's all I will say. There's many holes in this great land.
It's gross, isn't it?
No land is perfect, but I'm happy where I'm at. And trust me, this
100%,
is
100%, 100%. But yeah, who would step in the way of love? American healthcare system, that too. So what was your worst film?
so. Here we are. We talk about musicals that let me down and musicals that surprised me. There was a film many, many years ago. I believe this year celebrated 20 years of being awesome, and we can quote and we would love to watch time and time again. And then people said, the remake, the musical, let's go and see it. And I hated every minute of it.
No, I know
Mean
what it is.
Girls.
Yeah.
Mean Girls was absolutely terrible.
Terrible.
I feel that there's certain elements, right? It was like we talk about John Krasinski. Let's talk about his on-screen wife, Jenna. You know, I was like, oh, I didn't recognize her there.
Pam.
Yeah, like that was nice to see. They even brought back Lindsay Lohan and stuff like that.
That I
Tina
liked.
Fey.
That was cool
That was
seeing
cool.
her.
It was cool seeing the. I love Lindsay Lohan.
Moana's in it.
That hurt me when I found out who that was. You know, Tina Fey's back. We even brought back the teacher. But here's the thing: I'm aware that the world is sensitive now. The world is not the world we grew up in. Right?
Oh yes.
But then, do you know what? Let the films that attack your sensitivity stay where they are. Do not try and give me Mean Girls and say that instead of being, oh, she's a big fat lesbian or something like that. And this is not being discriminative, people.
She's
That's
a
what's in.
fugly bitch.
But it's that. But it's all of that. But it's, I gave her a teddy bear with a rainbow and she rejected it. And, I think we just about got to Gay to Function. But everything is just so avoiding. We didn't get it, did we?
No.
Everything was just so.
And didn't I call that? Didn't I say they're going to be too soft to do that line?
You were like, there should be. I remember you saying there should be a song of it, and I was like, I don't think it's going to happen. And you're like, yeah, you're right. And this is the thing. Now, all of these elements of what makes it there, and I'm aware that homosexuality throughout the years has become more accepted, and that's a good thing. Please don't think I'm saying. So when Mean Girls first came out, and you can say something like that, it was still a word. It would be like, "Oh, you're gay," and that was like I get it, and it's a positive thing that we've moved on from.
Laugh, but yes.
No, but reality is reality.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
It's what allows Too Gay to Function to be a saying, whereas
one of
now,
the best lines ever.
Listen, should we be cancelled on this? Hey, it was our last season. Look out for the silver screen dudes. But no, joking aside, it's you need to. It'll be dudes with a Z, not a yes.
A silver screen dude and dude.
Yeah, no, but like it's what it is, and if it's going to offend you, don't make the film. The core crux of these stuff were there, and it's removed. Even the I know it's bad, but the sexualization of the Santa baby. Now it's meant to be some ruined choreograph. Even down to the whole the way Katie and her family are separated because of who she's become was completely annihilated. And we have a party, and it's like before. The sacred pot from the Undabele tribe was something that you knew was something. It all just felt very
for
rushed.
remembering that.
Oh, I always remember that name because it's there. You can't even have the "Hey Africa." Like it all just felt so removed.
Hey Africa, yes, boy.
But you see what I'm saying? This is what made Mean Girls Mean Girls.
Yeah.
And no, I just have to hear "I am Regina George" 50 times without it giving any element and hate. We know who Regina is.
And man, didn't this movie in a weird way move at a breakneck speed and then all of a sudden just hit a dead end? Like I swear we got the burn book in like the first 10 minutes.
Bro, but this is the thing that
I was like, can you slow down and let it breathe? Please, like chill.
Yeah, it's so weird. And I get it. We're in a world where certain things are going to change, and you have to find a way to integrate social media because guess what? That's the world we live in now. So if it's a 2024 Mean Girls, it has to be that way. I get it. And yes, it would be a bit quirky to try and say like set in 2000s. You could have. We have to accept our age and who we are, but it just didn't work. I've not seen the musical.
I won't.
On stage. Not on stage, but again, if it was big enough for people. But here's the thing: sometimes the musical may be hated, but everyone goes to it because they love Mean Girls. I don't know. It just didn't work. I was severely disappointed with that film. I had so much expectation, and it just tanked.
D rank.
That's polite.
D rank. So, speaking of tanking, my worst. I think you know exactly. You kind of called it at the top, where I'm going. Oh yes. The reason this is my worst, I'd say it's one step less bad than Madam Web in terms of how a movie is made. Let me say what it is first, and then I'll elaborate. My worst of the year, Joker 2. Now, you, my man, are often quoted as saying expectation can be the killer. Here's the thing with that. Expectation, you are absolutely right, can indeed be the killer. You know what's even worse than expectation can be the killer? Expectation built on solid foundations.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
This told me that this is a safe franchise. This is in safe hands. This is a very safe actor who you can back as the Joker. This is a very safe hands director in Todd Phillips. Yeah, he's done the Hangover movies, and the first one's great. The other one's not so much. But then he doesn't matter. He knocked it out the park with Joker 1. He basically did a reinvention of Martin Scorsese's King of Comedy. And it worked a treat. What in the blue F was this? I called it from the get-go. I said when everyone was raving, I was like, Lady Gaga is an unproven commodity. This role is too big for her. I called it. And she was effing terrible, awful as Harley, right? The things I expected to be bad were bad. Then it got worse because there's two things which I found unforgivable. One, Joaquin was phoning it in. Joaquin did not come to play. This Joker is not Arthur Fleck from the first Joker movie. This is like someone trying to be Arthur Fleck from the first movie.
Which is weird when you're the same actor.
It's the same actor. He did not come to play. He did not come to play. And now here's the weird part with the musical numbers, right? First off, it didn't so much do what I was deeply afraid of, which was the Moulin Rouge treatment. You know, we didn't have a Virgin thing. But the music, the thing I'll credit Moulin Rouge for is that though I didn't personally like the way they reappropriated classic songs, in the scope of the movie they were presenting, at least they made sense when they were being used. Notably, Roxanne. That number really worked, right? Roxanne. Here, the musical numbers were the world's worst distraction. There was one scene in particular, where it was like, remember We Can Be a Good Movie? Remember how good the first one was? It was like, remember Berry Pie? Hey, remember Joker 1? I remember. They've got him in a prison cell and they're having him interviewed, kind of a la Natural Born Killers with Downey Jr. and Woody. Yeah, very, very reminiscent of that. So they've got this whole prison scene where he's being interviewed and they want to get inside the mind of the Joker, right? And it's good. It's the one scene in the movie where I'm like, and I'm awake. You have my attention now. It took you a while to get started. Are we back? And you got 3, 4, I think maybe 5 minutes of this brilliant exchange between Joker and this reporter. And then just as they're about to drop the bomb and give the big punchy line, it breaks into song, which, talk about bad timing. But then here's the terrible thing. After the song number is finished, they don't go back into the prison cell again. They go on to the next scene. And then I was like, did they screw something up in the editing room here? There's a chunk of movie missing here that feels important. And then you realize that the songs in this movie are glorified Final Cut iMovie transitions. That's what they are. Check it out. Every time they put a song in, they don't come back to what initiated the song in order to wrap up the narrative of that specific scene. They move on to the next scene. The songs are transitions without actually filling in story. to sit on the shoulders of greatness the way this movie did, of how good a movie Joker 1 was, I can't understand. I don't think ever have I seen a fall from grace like this. Ever.
I'm trying to think. There was one film that I remember we watched, and then number
There
two.
are falls from grace. Don't get me wrong. There are falls from grace that make you go, wow. Right? MCU, prime example. Huge fall from grace. And there are much worse than that. Such was the quality of Joker 1, and such is the quality of Joker 2. I don't know if I've ever seen a fall like this. Ever.
That's really bad.
Jaws 1 and Jaws 2. No. This is worse.
It's sad. It's sad. And here's the thing. This is why.
To quote what's his face from freaking Princess Bride, it's inconceivable. Like, how did they get it so wrong?
It's sad. It's bad. It's bad. It's like, it's just, you know, I remember we were always a bit nervous at the concept of a musical with this, but we're like, well, if there's a reason behind it, let it be. Now for it to just be a transition and it sounds like there's no plot then, because if you're just moving on, or it seems with it, you know, it feels like something like, and here's a film I can't stand, Four Rooms. It's like, here's that part, here's that story, on to the next story. But
Yeah. So it's exactly like that. It's exactly like that. Now they do try to hide it and play out that the songs are taking place inside of Joker's mind, but it doesn't.
But then that doesn't excuse it.
It doesn't stick. It doesn't stick. It doesn't work.
If the songs are within your mind and then you're at one place, we need to return back to reality. That's the thing. We could see how,
practically speaking, they're transitions.
Whew, okay, I do have.
Let's move away from this Stoink Fest. What is your best movie? I know what your best movie of the year is. The pun. It's the pun.
Pun from number one. And it's really funny because I had a friend of mine I was talking to the other day. And he was like, have you seen it? I was like, bro, I had just compiled my list that day. And I was like, I'm aware that this is my number one. Because I even forgot it came out this year. But yes, Mr. Ministry of Wrestling has gone for the Iron Claw as his number one. Now,
yeah, it's super.
This film is not. It's funny that you can always look at this thing and be like, oh, you don't have to be a wrestling fan to see it, but it doesn't matter. It's a family story. They just happen to be wrestlers. You could have made them the Flying Graysons. The story would have still touched you. You know, they could have been painters. The story would have still touched you. It's the family bond. It's the seeking of acceptance. It's the traveling, and dare I say, it's something I've always referred to them as. The Von Erichs are the Kennedys of wrestling.
Well, they didn't even show the full scale, did they? Because there was a fifth brother who didn't even make it into the movie, right?
Yeah. There is heartbreak. There is heartbreak.
Oh,
like there's heartbreak in seeing it. And again, as a wrestling fan, have I seen? Oh God, Dark Side of the Ring. That's the one. I've seen this stuff. So as much as I knew, I grew up watching the Texas Tornado, so I know from Kerry, and then I start to hear about the others along the way, and you start to follow that journey to a degree, but it's still from the outside. This film is why I enjoy a biopic. You know, it takes you on a journey.
Yeah,
it really gives you the feels. And it's not to say something. And I remember at one point, and I remember putting it in the group, and got zero reaction, so I don't think it hit people. But I like now having seen not having seen the film again since I've watched it. But there was the part where I think they went to a bar and there's someone singing like "I Want to Live Forever," and it just rings. It just touched me so much on what the family is. And then when you look at, I'm going to say this without getting into spoiler territory, but when you see the family reunion, you know, even that you're like, oh my days. And even after the family reunion, and you think like you've broken me enough, we've got Kevin's kids talking to him and saying something else, and you're like, oh my God, you've broken me even more. Like this film has every touch of what makes a movie. And as I said, I've not had the journey that I had last year, that I can see 100 films and 101 of them have touched my emotion. Priscilla had emotion, you know, I'm not going to knock that. There might have been a bit more emotion needed in Back to Black, and I know I'm just touching on the biopics here. I could have done with a bit more depth in One Love. Definitely could have done with some more in Deadpool and Wolverine, but like, it is what
Preach.
it is. But this I felt was just the movie, and it always felt like a given. Like when I looked at the excitement of when we were doing films to look forward to in 2024, this was pretty high up. But then there was a part of me that sometimes feels like, is it just going to be phoned in? And this is not being disrespectful to people, but you start hearing MJFs in there, you start seeing this one, you're like, okay. Not
Yeah,
only is
for
it
a
a wrestling
freaking New
film,
York second,
yeah, I know,
like,
but
blink and you'll miss him, right?
yeah, but when you start hearing this stuff, it's like, oh, for the wrestlers, by the wrestlers. It kind of feels like that. You know what I mean? Kind of thing. Sometimes it can be that film. Like the wrestler is good, but you appreciate it more as a wrestling fan. There are stuff like that, and I kind of felt like it could be one of those. But this film is for everybody, and I just feel like it was a moment. What a time to be alive. Actually, it's something to say when you get to grace a film like this.
And the only thing I'll add to that is Zac Efron is freaking incredible.
Yeah.
Absolutely incredible. He should be the next Wolverine. Come at me.
Do you know, going back to that and thinking of Deadpool and Wolverine, it's when Deadpool's looking for Wolverine and there is the actual really short one. I was like, that's the actual height.
What was it? Wade called him comic accurate Wolverine. Yeah.
Yeah, but that in a world where I've seen 12 new films. Okay, I've just seen one with Christina Milian just before we were going into recording, but that's a cheesy Netflix piece of entertainment. I use the word entertainment. I've not seen a lot. This film stood out, and I don't. Yes, it may not have been number one. Definitely would have always been top 10. Definitely would have been top 5.
Yeah, I mean, look, it was my number 6. Sorry, it's my number 6. Just missed out on top 5. It's a superb film, absolutely superb film. But I don't really need to add to what you've said. It's well done. My number 1, BFI Film Festival again. If you told me, AJ, that in a year where Yorgos Lanthimos is making 2 movies, we're getting Deadpool and Wolverine, the new Alex Garland movies coming out, the sequel to Gladiators coming out, all of this stuff we were looking forward to. If you told me at the beginning of the year, first off, do you watch Emmerdale?
No.
Most people don't.
But here's the thing. Having been to Manchester and done the Coronation Street tour, the Emmerdale tour is on my list, which might make me fall in love with it. I've seen Emmerdale here and there.
I mean, surely you need to have watched it to appreciate the tour.
Not really. Film fan. Couldn't give a shit. I know about the Woolpack. I don't know if they still have the Woolpack, to be honest. But listen, film fan will be a film fan, bro. Like anything to be on set somewhere, I'll appreciate it.
So if you told me at the beginning of the year that an actor from Emmerdale called Joe Gill, I'm not even sure how to pronounce his name, would have a breakout performance from a first-time director who I interviewed on the channel, and he gave me 25 minutes of his time. Go check it out now. Gino Evans, amazing man. A first-time director directing an Emmerdale actor in a low-budget British independent movie would make my number 1 of the year. I would have laughed in your face. A movie that hasn't even got a distribution deal yet. It's had its world premiere here in the UK, and obviously it's screened at the BFI London Film Festival. If you go and search for a poster for this movie online, good luck. Google will not return much. In fact, do you know what the top ranked image of this movie is? It's my freaking movie review for it.
Got to feel good, right?
Oh, it feels good. I'm not going to lie, but also I've got to keep it real. Like this movie hasn't been properly distributed yet. And so as a result, my number 1, AJ, is Treading Water. Treading Water is my movie of the year. It is incredible. Follow Joe Gill, who plays the main character, has OCD. He's just coming out of prison for drug misuse. And he ends up in what they call like a between house, somewhere for the inmates to go, a rehab house. No, not a rehab house, but somewhere where
rehabilitate, like back into community, like right.
Yeah, exactly. So he ends up in one of these houses and he's just trying to not get swallowed up by the world while having to deal with heroin addiction. And bro, when I tell you that some of the heroin scenes in this, I was like, oh my God, Train Spotting vibes. You know, they really like, he's just got out of prison, for instance, and he goes to the top of a double-decker bus at the back and he starts shooting heroin into his groin. And it's like, and it's the first 10 minutes of the film. I mean, I'm so uncomfortable, and I love the film for doing this because only a British movie would go this raw, this visceral, this in your face in the first 10 minutes. But you just know that this stuff exists. And then he finds this hooker, prostitute, working girl, turned out to be one of his old school friends. She's pregnant, but she's still walking the streets. And together, this pregnant prostitute and post-prison drug addict rekindle a friendship together and try to figure out where their place in the world is. It is brutal. It is violent. It has got one of the most tense scenes in the last 25 minutes that I have seen for a while. It almost ranked lower for me until that ending happened, because I was like, okay, you've kind of cranked down in Act 2. Like, you've taken your foot off the gas a bit. And then I realized why. It's like, because then they're going to crank it right back up in Act 3. Yeah, domestic violence, drug addiction, all the horrible, horrible, horrible things that you read about in the papers, front and center in this movie. Star-making performance from Joe Gill. I cannot recommend this film enough.
I'm intrigued. And I'm happy. Because look, guys, I mean, A24 has that kind of, you know, it's not your blockbuster-esque type movie. It's got.
Oh, it's definitely an A24 style movie, but it's not distributed by A24.
No.
But it's that pedigree, exactly.
What I'm getting at is that we're looking at, and it's not directly art house, but what I'm trying to get at is similar to last year. It's not all about just having. I mean, I know my list is more akin to that, but it's not all about a top 10 of the. The crash bang wallops. The as you said, the blockbuster doesn't really exist as it used to, but there was enough out there for it to have been that as a number one, and to have an independent film be a number one is quite refreshing. Something to what I love about that. If it's your first time watching us and you've just crossed the 2-hour line, Silver Screen Dudes live on edutainment. That's our thing. It's about putting out films that you may not have seen. We're going to touch on the ones you have seen and maybe give you a chance to. I need to see what the dudes say before I go and watch it. Hopefully, it sways you the right way. But it's the ones that you don't know about that I'm happy to hear of. And something like this, which is very interesting, I'm down, and I'm happy to see that got the number one spot, bro.
It's incredible, mate. So yeah, those are our top 10 movies of 2024. Both for AJ and myself. A little preview as to what's coming up on the channel. I will be doing a shortened version of my top 10 for top 10 of 2024. So just a sort of 6 to 8 minute segment of all of the movies which I've discussed here. I'll be doing the top 10 worst of 2024. Again, shortened version. We are going to launch next year with the movie Mount Rushmore coming out once a month, as well as a classic movie review show that will air once a month. I go into detail about all of that in a video that was posted recently on the channel, just announcing what's coming in 2025. We're back, guys. We're back in full flow, but just under slightly different parameters of frequency. But you're still going to get at least 1 to 2 videos a week on the channel. So keep it right here. Subscribe if you haven't already. It has been a blessing doing this with you again, brother. I'm so happy to be back.
Well, thank you. It's been a long time coming, and you know what? More than thanking each other, thank you guys who have waited for that notification bell to ring again and see these two faces. Like, especially on my end, like it's been over 6 months. Went that way. So, like, yeah, thank you guys for tuning back in, and much love to you all. I'm not going to mention any names for fear of forgetting any. But thank you for keeping it Silver Screen Dudes, guys. The Silver Screen Dudes, in fact.
The Silver Screen Dudes, yeah.
And
happy holidays, happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas, all of that goodness. Have a great new year, and we will see you guys in 2025. But again, keep it right here on the channel because there's more content before Christmas and before the year's out. But for now, guys, we out. See ya.